We are on our way to KL to test out the 1300 GS Adventure automatic shift assistant. The collection time is 8 AM. I'm just gonna chill ride. The reason why I'm wearing waterproof gear is because, you know, touring usually you don't have time to stop one side and put on the raincoat, and the rain is so on and off, it's very sporadic. So you want to have something that is breathable-ish when it's hot and dry, and there are a lot of gears these days with zips. So zip ventilation, you close the zip and then you get waterproofing. This is a Dainese model Tempest D Dry 2 that I've had for, I think at this point, 3 years. Yeah. So now we go to Tuas. The GPS is not working. Actually, is it faster to go by BKE, PIE, or just Tuas straight to the place? Wow. Warming up the bike-ish. It's getting a bit hot and stuffy, so you know, you see the slits in the arm sleeve. When you lift up your hands, you get a lot of ventilation. Not a lot, you get more ventilation because of the arm guards. If I rest my hands, my gloves, you see, it's kind of blocking. That's a fast boy! Yeah, this is so much ventilation, it's so cooling. Okay. So now we see whether always this traffic light that's so sketchy, you know. The mic is taking up quite a bit of space in the helmet. For short distance vlogging it's fine, but I'm not too sure if I'll find it distracting or very bothering, so I'll see what the verdict is when I reach Tuas, Geylang Patah R&R. It should be a 30 minutes ride to Geylang Patah, or maybe 45 minutes. Let's see how it goes. I've been really frustrated with the Boxer engine in the past few months, and before that I just didn't have the trust in this bike anymore because of all the major maintenance being done to it, and most of the repairs were actually done with well, it is second-hand parts, but it is really new second-hand parts, something like, you know, demo bike kind where there's like 500 km to like a couple thousand km on the mileage of it. But even that I don't feel very reassured, because simply it's a BMW and its failure rate is a little too high lately being in the past 18 months of ownership. So this bike is in its twilight years. There's 3 years on its COE left, a lot of parts are just worn out, and we don't really know how the previous owners have taken care of the bike. So reliability is a very strong point for me right now. I want something reliable, comfortable, less vibrations, much less vibrations. And off the top of my mind, FGR has left a very strong impression. Just in a couple of videos ago, you see I went to Betong with like a Africa Twin friend and FGR friend, And I tried FGR, it's so amazing. Even on B roads, the suspension wasn't serviced, so the bumps were very obvious, and you know, I think I can live with it. I don't need an adventure bike suspension. But here's the thing, those bumps were done with a solo rider and no top box. So what if I had a pillion, which I actually tour with pillion fairly often. I think like half of my tours are actually with pillion. And I have been considering maybe it's better to just get a Goldwing, because FJR, it is still Japanese reliability, but it is not in production. The parts will be more difficult to source increasingly in future. Even if you buy a brand new FJR, yeah, the reliability is there, but here's the thing, a Goldwing can't corner while FJR can corner. So there are pros and cons to this. There isn't really a systematic way to go around this conversation, so I won't actually go through the top down, you know, because my thoughts are jumbled all over the place. Let me see, am I actually recording on the GoPro? Yeah. So yeah, we are on the way, and this is how we look like as usual. It's so comfortable and assuring wearing like riding boots, like a proper riding boots. If you can see, I have like a Alpine Stars kind of Gore-Tex boots, which are not actually Gore-Tex. A lot of these riding gears, they promote Gore-Tex, and Gore-Tex isn't the best material, frankly, because it's more waterproof than not. So it does zero breathability. No matter whatever they say, you will not get any ventilation or airflow. But the downside is also when there are rain, sometimes these materials, they don't hold up very well. In very heavy, strong downpour, you may get a couple of drips in, you'll feel the dampness. And it's very annoying because while being waterproof, it also allows water in, and you have a very tough time drying these products. Once I wore these waterproof boots, and I wore the Climb, I believe it's Baja S4, so it's basically a mesh jacket and pants, very well protected, good ventilation. But I rode it through heavy rain from Malacca back home in Singapore, and my boots was ponding. Like I had to pour water out of my boots by the time I got back to Singapore, but it was already ponding as I left Malacca. So the point is, it was so wet, it took me more than a week just to dry the boots. I didn't have a dedicated shoe dryer. All I did was leave a hair dryer in, left it in a balcony, just put upside down in all sorts of position possible just to make it dry. Even with direct sunlight, there are the toe area and the crevices, it will take a good amount of time. I am speaking a lot, for while being in Singapore. So I believe a lot of these segments are either going to be cut up into multiple segments for Instagram Reel, TikTok videos, or it's going to be a boring part in the YouTube. Because there's not much action going on. We're riding at 4 AM. Let me see, where's my phone? Okay, my phone is in my pocket. Yeah, I don't have the habit of putting my phone in on the handlebar mount because of vibration. I don't know how accurate that is, but I don't want to try. A lot of iPhone users have had their phones destroyed. Yeah, so getting the 1300 GSA, I'm not convinced because it is automatic. I think it will be a very good daily bike and contender for this, and both panniers are able to fit a full face helmet, plus the top box, which is central locking. So only the top box is central locking, but it's good enough, right? So you put your helmets for left and right, and then when you need to, you just valuables in the top box, central locking, hop off the bike. You and your partner's valuables can be in the top box. I'm sure your important necessities can fit in the top box, right? If you have like a working backpack, then like laptop, I think you could squeeze like a decent, reasonable small backpack into the top box with all availables, and it'll be fine. Central locking, great convenience. I highly support that idea. But bikes with central locking, to my knowledge, I can only think of 3: Africa Twin, RT, BMW RT, and the new GSA, right, for now. RT that has central locking, I think they already had it in their 1200 models, 1200 liquid cooled days. But 1250 RT definitely has central locking, great convenience, and it also has adaptive cruise control, which the Goldwing lacks at the moment. So why is that important? You're on a bike that doesn't corner much, you're not built for sporty riding in the first place. You know what, should I actually go by Woodlands? I think I should, because at this timing there is no traffic. I think it's okay. Or is Tuas closer to the north-south highway? I'm not sure actually. What a dilemma. Okay, you know what? I will go by Woodlands. This is the first time I'm touring while living through Woodlands, I think. We will see how it goes. I just want to get into Malaysia ASAP. Staying in Singapore is all the traffic rules and whatnot. It's rather suffocating, right? So you can properly ride a big bike once you cross into the proper place that you can expose its full flare of its engine. I am feeling a bit sleepy right now. I actually had like a whole, what do you call it, that chocolate, Cadbury chocolate. I had a whole bunch of it around maybe like 12 AM. Yeah, and I didn't sleep. I slept the whole of the afternoon yesterday. So hopefully I can last the ride back from KL to Singapore. You know, I've done this so many times that eventually it just gets boring. You have done this Singapore to KL so often that the North-South Highway feels so boring. And which brings me to the next point, you know, getting a Goldwing on a North-South Highway, just a straight road. Why would you want an adventure bike aside from its facility, right? So there have been more mature riders who actually downgraded to small bikes. They tour on scooters instead, and they say that it's a huge benefit that you can ride around and explore the local areas more conveniently, which I completely agree. There is no better way to find out how things are and really enjoy the touring without a small bike. And if you master the slow ride, you can just chill on the North-South Highway all the way. But I mean, that kind of, for me, that kind of defeats the purpose of touring. And it's really, it's so suffering, you know. I think eventually, if the mileage is about the same for a small bike and big bike, the maintenance will equal out. Right, like if you actually tour on an X-Max, your engine oil change actually it's about 1,500 to 2K and most. X-Max burns engine oil quite fast. Okay, let's go to the last counter. Wow, there's no one at all. Yeah, my whole ride here there wasn't anyone at all on the road. 4 AM? Yeah, maybe it's kind of like a really odd timing where nobody has ended work. Oh, these are JD bikes. Okay, let's see. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna stand in since there's nobody at this time. Yeah, if I had a Goldwing, I wouldn't be able to do this. So you see the flexibility now. You have a touring bike that can go anywhere and everywhere quite comfortably regardless of the terrain. Technically a GS would have more storage than RT and Goldwing anyways. Yeah. So saying a GS has more storage than an RT. GS Adventure, by the way, the square panniers is the one you want to get, because you know actually the panniers can fit like your full face helmet and a raincoat plus your riding jacket, your gloves. Yeah, it can fit everything. Your Goldwing panniers cannot fit a helmet. It cannot even fit your backpack. So if you have luggage, I don't think you can even put in your Goldwing. Where the Goldwing really shines, it's its engine and pillion comfort and that top box. It doesn't have much other storage. It's a very weird bike, honestly, compared to the FJR and GS. GS is the king of storage. FJR is actually really decent on storage because you can put a long rounded top box, the GV Maxia 5, and you have two panniers which can fit full face helmet. But that does not have central locking and is a bit behind on the tech, where you have used the same key as your engine. You can duplicate that, yes, but every time you open the box you just need the key. For someone who dailies the bike, it may get a bit exhausting. Also the fact that, what was the fact? I didn't even close my modular helmet properly. My nose is starting to feel a bit funny. Okay, let's see my nice can view. Okay, great. So my knives actually can pull down the balaclava for recognition, but wow, I think if I do this every time, my balaclava is going to be so stretched. Wow, there's really nobody at this timing eh. Let's see, I will need to actually reorientate the GPS because we're not going by Tuas anymore, and in Malaysia Google Maps is actually better. So we will use Google Maps and I'll put KLCC. Okay. Yep, keep right. I think we are going to the Mount Austin area. So now that we are here, I think we have to turn on all our fog lights. Yeah. North-South Highway is very dark and we are going to be travelling faster than usual. It's just better to have that little extra visibility for drivers. Not just for ourselves, you know, you're also conveniencing the drivers. They don't have to squint and look at you. Of course, you need to have properly adjusted fog lights where you don't blind other people. The height of the fog lights are important. If your fog lights are around the car mirror's height, then you see, like, you get this very blinding effect. 325 km, so actually Woodlands, you just continue going down this, you will also reach the North-South Highway quite fast. I think in that case, it may be better to just come by JB if you're going to be traveling at night at all timings. Not better per se, but convenient. Okay, so now that we are going a bit higher speeds and there's a more wind in JB area, you know, less buildings. Okay, well, it's still quite protected, but I am already a little unsettled by the amount of vibration and engine noise. My nose so itchy. Okay. Maybe I should button up my riding jacket. I don't need to zip it up, just button will do. Zip is going to be very hot. So let me see. Okay, it's a bit difficult to button up actually. I only need to worry when it rains. Get more ventilation. North-South Highway. So this is really about the cruising speed for a GSA. You're going about 4,500 to 5,000 RPM. I think the most you really want to push it without destroying your ears is 6,000 to 6.5 at best. Anything more, your ears just will not know peace. Okay, my nose is really itchy. I think it's because of how I stretched the balaclava earlier. This is the first speed camera sign. So if you don't know, in Malaysia the speed camera is not lighted. It doesn't have the orange and white stripes. It's black. It's camo. They actually want to snipe you. So the speed cameras, you get 3 warning. That was the first. You have 2 more signboards, and after the third signboard, about 800 meters to 1 km after the third signboard is the speed camera. You have to slow down and you will notice it. It's very obvious. Oh, wow, what a bounce. Yeah, I think this is why adventure bike still triumphs. That was, I flew off my seat, man. Fortunately, my phone is still here. I think I should kind of stop somewhere or ride slow to... Oh, this is the highway already. That's great. Speed trap in 600 meters. Okay. Let's see. Do I have that pocket for my phone in the jacket? Ah, this is the speed camera. Can you see? Black color. Probably stop to wear my gear properly. Okay, it's a bit of a decent lighting here, so we are going to do that here. Okay. Tiny pocket. Yeah, this is a waterproof compartment in our jacket. Then button up. One and two. Okay. And we're off. Okay, now we are properly suited up. The phone is well in my jacket, and if it comes off, which I don't think it will, my Apple CarPlay will disconnect and I will know. So yeah, now we are properly, I believe this is already the North-South Highway, and it should be more direct because we left from Woodlands, I hope. So just gonna chill right, I think maintain like a 140 all the way. You know, 5,000, yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, let's see. Okay, just set cruise control and we will chill. So I just started playing my music. I know I'm against playing music during touring because of the noise fatigue. You have your engine noise and playlist, it's going to be tiring, but I will try to see if I can mask the droning sound. Oh, this is tight. Wow. My hands are vibrating. This is so annoying. I think I'm really not a fan of the Boxer for touring. My hands are vibrating so much. just arrived. So found a corner lot so that people small bikes won't get in the way. And yeah, this is how we're dressed. All the barang. Yeah, my bag is a bit open and out. So we'll just leave it here and we'll go up to the first floor and find the 1300 GSA and the owner.